Here's Brody Brazil.
As I record this, it's not yet the month of December, and when I publish it, it'll still be November, but these are my Sharks' Big Six headlines entering the month of December 2022. And what I want to do here is try and establish where we're at through past the quarter point of this season, what lies ahead, what are the biggest things that people are talking about surrounding the San Jose Sharks. Topic A number one. This is a huge headline. The pace of Erik Karlsson so far this year. 32 points in his first 24 games. And quite honestly, the month of October was just okay. He has absolutely turned it on here in November. 11 goals to 21 assists. That gets him to the 32 points. The ratio of doing a little bit of everything. Scoring goals, but also the helpers. And it's my last point here. Where would the Sharks be without number 65 so far this season? His influence on the offense has been tremendous. It's got a lot of people wondering two things. Number one, can he get to a 100-point season? He's well on pace for that. I mean, you look back at 2015-16, that was his best year in the league, 82 points. He is well on pace to absolutely crush that number. Again, this is pace. We're talking about a November, like a best Sharks calendar month by any skater in franchise history. Karlsson is literally knocking on that door. But let me go back to the other big thing that people are talking about with Erik Karlsson. At this pace, at this level of recognition, and even despite the Sharks' rough season, like, is he a Norris frontrunner right now? And I always hate to equate the Norris to what defenseman produces the most points, but that is kind of how it has been in recent years. So he has to at least be a frontrunner, has to at least be in the conversation. I'm not saying he's the favorite. I'm just saying that he's got to be, at this juncture, among the top candidates. Erik Karlsson's pace has been so outstanding that it's got people around the league discussing trade talks. Now, I don't want to go that far in this video. That's not one of my headlines. Let me just say this. He's played so well to spur the conversation. The next step and next layer to it is just that it's such a complicated puzzle piece. His contract, the amount of years left, the dollar amount, the no move and no trade clauses that come with it. It's a little bit complicated. So before we really go too far down that road, let's just admire the pace that he's on right now. Again, one of the best calendar months by any Sharks skater in franchise history. Next topic to discuss here is the other player who you could ask the question, where would the Sharks be without, in this case, James Reimer? And unfortunately, some type of lower body injury has ailed him to the point where he missed a couple games, last week, and then now back out again after coming in and having that 5-goal, take it back 4-goal performance against the Kings. But 2 of those goals went through the 5-hole, and it had us wondering and saying, well, what's going on here? Because James Reimer, look, has set such a tremendous bar for the Sharks over his career. I mean, even going back to 2015-16, but also this season and last year, we know what Reims is all about. So when he has a game like that, and when he was coming off an injury like that, his first game back, it makes you wonder, all right, what is exactly going on here? What is the setback? Is something related here? So there is a bit of concern about him in and out of the lineup lately. You hope he can get past it. You hope he can turn a corner with it. No question, this is the goaltender that has earned the number 1 reps for this team this season. No disrespect to Kaapo Kähkönen. In fact, he's not even really had the opportunity to get in there on a regular game-after-game basis because Reimer has been so solid. Even in October, when the team was really struggling to score goals, Reimer was keeping them in contention because he was doing such a good job in tandem with the team's defense. So where would this team be without James Reimer through the first 2 months? It's a complimentary question to him, but obviously now it turns into, well, has he played so well that eventually down the road he might be a trade piece? No, we're not at that point yet. I think trade talks with all players pick up later in the year, and I hate to be this person to even speculate that, but quite honestly, it's been a compliment to James Reimer. His contract with the Sharks is up this year. It puts him in that situation. Quite honestly, I would love to see him stay in San Jose. I think he provides a backbone that this team needs for any kind of success moving forward. But I also realize that's what other teams would see in him too. And if the Sharks can get some value there, puts him in that trade piece conversation. I think he's valuable to San Jose. I think he'd be valuable to somebody else. But going back to the whole health thing, you want to make sure that he can get right for here and now. He can get right for whatever the rest of the season has in store for James Reimer. So hoping that this health story comes and goes. I hope this is not a story, as we're midway through December. It's Timo time, but is it also time for Timo? This is my third headline. Timo's 7th NHL season. He's only been a Shark. He's going to be a restricted free agent this summer. And he's having quite the year where he was snake bit at the beginning, but the entire time, nearly the entire season from the start to now, he's led this league in shots taken. I love that. Shooters shoot, right? I love to see the fact that Timo is getting those chances, taking those chances. I would love to see even more of them come through, but recently had the hat trick, right? So the goals are coming for Timo Meier. The season has started to even itself out for number 28. But when I say time for Timo, I'm excited in a way to figure out what's next for him. Because I do feel like we're at a juncture this year where the Sharks, by the deadline, are either going to re-sign him or he'll find a new home. And again, we're in this conversation where I don't want to suggest, I don't want to speculate, I don't want to start rumors. I'm just reading what's black and white on paper. An RFA with a lot of value, he'll be due for a big contract, a next big commitment somewhere. I don't know what the Sharks' plans are moving forward, a next young wave of players. What will they do here with Timo Meier? I'm just saying that the fork in the road, one way or another, is coming sooner than later. So the season he's having leading up to that makes that fork in the road even more interesting. I love Timo. He's been a great Shark. I like the fact that, he's really been consistent this year with these offensive opportunities. And obviously, I wish him the best. And selfishly, I know where I wish him the best. It would be here. The Sharks have had a really rough go of it on home ice this year. Almost unbelievable. 2-8-4 at the tank so far. And I know what people are saying. Well, that's points in 6 out of 14 games. It's not that bad. But yeah, there's only one regulation win of those two. And when you really look at it, it's 2 wins and 12 losses. Those 4 overtime losses and shootout losses, they are still losses. You failed to pick up 2 points on home ice. And it's twofold here when you talk about the Sharks' need to do well at the tank. Yeah, you want to get your results because you're practicing at home, you're sleeping in your own bed, you're eating your own food. You want to take advantage of that half of the NHL schedule because the road part is difficult, right? Every team is in that situation. But I also feel like the Sharks playing in front of their home crowd, their home audience, this is the firsthand way to make a good impression again, to win the fans back over, to show them that you're moving in the right direction, to be exciting, to win some big games, to make some comebacks, score a bunch of goals. Yes, they do watch on TV. Good fans watch the home and road games. But when you're in person, there's something that's frustrating about the Sharks this year not being able to do well. I mean, they're a 500 team on the road, but they're 2-8-4 at SAP Center. And for no rhyme or reason. Not James Reimer. I say no rhyme or reason. There's nothing you can point to and say, well, that's holding them back. That's the frustrating part. No good reason, no good way out of it. You want to do well at home for obviously the success of your schedule and standings, but you also want to do well to have that good impression, that first or in-person impression with your fans. And it's just not happened this year. So I don't have any fixes here. I'm just pointing it out that this is a frustrating early trend and headline of the Sharks as they get into December. Let's actually talk about the San Jose Barracuda. Wait, what? This is a Sharks video, but you have to be looking at the AHL team this season to understand what lies ahead for the Sharks. The CUDA under John McCarthy, his first year as their head coach, they're off to a 10-7-0-1 start. Remember the four category records like the NHL used to have? 10-7-0-1 start for the team this year. They've got the new rink. And maybe even at this point, the bigger part is that they've stayed together. Yeah, they've won some games. They've had some success. They've had hat tricks. They've had Gordie Howe hat tricks. But this is a group that Mike Grier has chosen to keep together. There's only been one call-up from the Barracuda. I mean, we're more than a quarter way through this season, and by last year, there were already 4, 5, 6 Barracuda players that were called up. Nick Cicek is the only rookie that's been used, and quite honestly, his call-up was because of the Radim Šimek injury. Mike Grier is trying to keep this group together. Mike Grier is trying to keep this group intact, maybe even separate from the Sharks. I like it. I'm sure those players, the Bordelos, the Eklunds, the Merkleys, they'd rather be in the NHL, of course. But I like it for them that this group can find success, they can find chemistry, they can be, as it's been said before, overripe. When the time is ready, they'll be overripe for the opportunity in San Jose. And it brings me to wondering through the course of this season, like we've got our eyes on the CUDA, what they do, how they perform, sustained success, of course. But is this going to be a situation where after the trade deadline, some or one or a lot of these players get called up? If there are opportunities, and let me take a step back here. This would assume that the Sharks are wholesale sellers at the NHL trade deadline. I don't know that to be entirely true, whether they want to or whether other teams would be buying in on that. I'm just saying that the only opportunity I see for them to move into NHL spots, these younger players, is in a right before or right after the deadline type situation. Like that's just the way it goes, roster spots, right? So keeping our eye on the Barracuda this year, more important than any prior year for the San Jose Sharks. Who stays and who goes? This was a report that came out about a month ago, and it said that everybody, maybe minus Tomas Hertl because of the recent contract and extension signing, that everybody is on the trade table. I mean, I'm not sure the entire accuracy of that, but at the same respect, I don't think that type of statement is far off. It's obvious what the Sharks are doing here. They're retooling for the future. So why wouldn't they have conversations with anybody about everybody? At least have the conversation. It doesn't mean you're actually going to act on it. But I think what is clear about the Sharks in this particular season, 2022-23, they need to get some things done. They need to impart change, or they need to showcase development of their players. And I'm saying this from, the start of opening night to game 82 on the season. We've got plenty of way left to go this year. Like, it doesn't need to happen in December. We don't need the Sharks to have some drastic changes, but you need to either have the franchise change its look for the future, or you need to have development take place with your youngest players by the time this regular season is over in April of 2023. So is it a matter of personnel coming or going, or showcasing some of your younger players? I don't have an exact equation for you on that, but it is something I'm already starting to pay attention to. Hey, we're a quarter of the way through. What happens in the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter of this season schedule-wise? How do the Sharks actually take these steps forward? You don't want to just have a year that's, new coach, couple new players, new GM, and we were just, putting our feet in the pool. You actually want to jump in. You want to get wet, start swimming around. I understand you're not doing the Olympic laps yet. You're not in that type of race yet, but you want to at least get wet, make a splash as much as you can this year. And I will say, in terms of if there is changeover on this team, I think the Sharks have some valuable veteran pieces. If other teams are going to be interested, and if you do need to create roster spots, I won't even name them by name here because I hate that type of speculation. But Mike Grier this past offseason went out and acquired some veterans, some players that are predictable, that have set a bar in this league. You know what to expect from these players. So that's the way the current roster shakes up for San Jose. So those are my biggest Sharks themes and headlines entering December 2022. I know it's been a rough year so far. November has had the uptick of certain individual players, Timo, Logan, Karlsson, but obviously the group as a whole really yet to find that first bit of traction, minus the one road trip, right? They won 3 of 4 on that very difficult road trip. They're about to go back on the road here again. We'll see if that can spark something, but individual success, team not quite there yet. We'll see what December and the final month of 2022 ultimately brings.